there's power in language. There's power in language, meaning that the brain is going to generate whatever perception it wants to generate. You don't really get a vote on that until you decide to tell it what to do, i.e. the mind.
Right.
But the brain's going to do its thing, and the brain is wired for survival and fight or flight. It's going to be in that state, the hyperamygdala state. Like, you're not going to be logical, you're not going to be planning, you're going to be in fight or flight mode. And now that happens until somebody comes in and intervenes and invites people to look at what's happening in a specific way, which that would be a theme throughout my life, is helping people in the midst of chaos take a look. So you're seeing it this way, and it's generating this experience for you. And then out of that, all these thoughts and all these decisions, and then all these actions, and then all these results. Can we look at this a new way? So not
and
in a
to be able to
way.
do that, right? And be able to do that when there's so much on the line, like life or death, and in that situation you're talking about in the hospital. And so I just want to pause for a minute and relate that into, what most corporate jobs are like, right? It can feel like life and death emotionally and mentally, because we're having to make decisions and collaborate and do all of these things at breakneck speed now.
Yes.
With new tools, and our brain is receiving signals. Our nervous system is receiving signals that this is life or death. Is that fair to say?
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's the brain's number one agenda, is to help us survive. Number one, we don't get a vote on that. That's gravity. Number two is save energy so we can survive later if we need to. That's what the brain's doing. Nobody gets to vote on that. That's gravity for the nervous system.
Yep.
So it's good to know that that's what's happening. Otherwise, we start to think, this is how I am, this is who I am. And if I can't make that distinction between what my brain's up to and what I'm up to, then we won't have much power, and definitely not much versatility. And you just see options instead of seeing possibilities. So that's what I do for the listeners. That's what I do. If I jump a couple steps in my career path, that's what I do now. So I coach founders of companies, all very brilliant, very ambitious. It's on them, some of them very, very successful, some of them on the verge of success. Some of them, they come to me and, Rome is burning. What do I do? They're in different places, but they're all the hue might be different, but it's all chaos, and it's crisis. Even the crisis of success. I mean, if things are really working, you're still in crisis, because now you got to keep up. And now there's, people are renegotiating. Some people are leaving. Some people are taking advantage of the situation. There's hyper political situation, whatever it is. It's all chaos. So I didn't answer your question well, though. But what have I learned? So,
well, no, you did. But I mean, hey, tell me what else you've learned about leadership. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because I did the nursing thing, and then I moved out to Los Angeles, and I worked at a church that's about 3,000 people, and I would mobilize people to go serve in the city and take people overseas, especially when natural disasters would happen, like Katrina or Haiti, or when Pakistan was underwater. I took a doctor and we went and did clinics. So taking people on these immersive experiences that will mark their life, hopefully in a really great way, almost always in a phenomenal, oh my gosh, that was, changed my life, to get to serve these people who you'll never know their names. They'll never know your name, but your life was transformed forever. Inviting people into philanthropic chaos. Did that for a good while. After that, I ran a foundation, and we worked in the prison system, worked with murderers. So we ran leadership trainings in prison with murderers. And we ran these trainings, and then we trained these murderers, which were all lifers, most of them with a possibility of parole, to go then be change agents in the prison. Because there's, they've been there for a long time.
Let's transfer that into the boardroom, or let's just into the corporate space. We're selling ourselves stories. Mm-hmm. Right. That's the theme, is it always. Through all of these is we get stuck in selling ourselves these stories. And I know when you and I spoke, I was telling you about my book, Trauma Informed Leadership. And you mentioned that people can use trauma as a convenient hiding place, and they're not doing it intentionally, or maybe they are when they're stuck in that victim mentality. But my question is more focused on, how do you get leaders in your work to confront these hidden aspects and integrate these hidden aspects of themselves?
Yeah. So I always start with the future. That's where I start. I start with what they want. And when you invite anybody to talk about what they want, almost always surprising to me. I've been doing this a long time now. I've been doing this type of coaching for almost 15 years. It's almost not surprising to me now, but I ask really robust, smart, adventurous, ambitious leaders about what they want for the future. If when I ask just 2 or 3 questions, they don't know. Like, they're not clear on what the future is. And these are all people that have slide decks everywhere about the future. But what do they want? What do you want to see happen? There's not a big vivid picture there. Now, why is that? Now, usually it's because they don't believe either in themselves. Most of these folks really believe in themselves, but they don't believe in their team, or they don't believe that the market's going to sustain, or something like that. And so when you talk about the future, all their conversations about the present show up. And so talk about all of their resistance, I would say, to that future being possible. Because even if they say, oh, we're going to make 10 million next year, great. Well, why not 20? I'll ask, why not? Okay, great, 10. But why not 20? Let's talk about that for a second. And that'll bring up all of their resistance, all the things that aren't quite working well, all the spaces in which they're stuck, or the team is stuck, or big changes they would have to make in order to make that happen. And that's, now we've got a ball game, right? So now we've got all of the real conversation around current reality that needs to be explored. So sometimes if I try to go to your perspective and where you're coming from, almost always there's something that has happened in their past that the distinction I would make is X happened. What I made up about what happened actually becomes the memory.